What's good, folks? Welcome to another edition of the Cover One Film Room, the show that gives you the hows and the whys behind both the good and the bad of the Buffalo Bills. I am one of your two hosts, Anthony Prohaska, joined as always by Eric Turner. And Eric, we are here on a Tuesday this week instead of a Wednesday. Bit of a wonky schedule. We got some back-to-backs. We got 3 shows lined up today. You just did Turf to Tape. We're here in the film room. I'm doing disguise coverage later, but it's up at 7 instead of 9. But the schedule is just not working out for us, but also we're trying to make it work. And speaking of make it work, the Buffalo Bills made some things work.
They did.
In the snow at home against a team that has kind of had their number the past several years in a variety of ways, in a game that was looking pretty unfortunate for them, but they put some things together, especially in the second half, and the Bills came out of Week 14 with a 39-34 victory against the rival Cincinnati Bengals, and we will be diving into both sides of the ball. A lot of diving into on the offensive side with all the standout performances we saw there. But Eric, before we do that, as always, how you doing? How you feeling? How's it going?
I'm happy. We were able to make this work. So behind the scenes, Anthony and I were trying to make this work tonight because I have things going on the rest of the week. Of course, we don't want to wait too long into the week to record this. And so it happened to earlier today. Anthony said, like, I'm not gonna be able to make it work. I'm like, all right. So I got 3 plays into recording offline for the film room. And then of course Sal's like, hey, I'm done with my appointment. Can we go live? I'm like, all right. So then I was like, you know what, Ant, can you go later? Because I don't want to just do the podcast by myself. And sure enough, we made it work. So yeah, Turf the Tape just recorded. It's up on the YouTube channel. Check it out later on tonight after Anthony's show, because after the film room, Anthony's going to be right back at it with Kyle's there, our boy Tyler Kyle's, at what, 7:00 you said?
Yeah, 7:00.
Yeah. So back to back content for Bills Mafia. We hope you enjoy it. And we're getting a little bit of everything tonight on this Tuesday. And so we appreciate everyone joining us to recap the Bills Bengals game. And man, what a game that was, Ant.
Absolutely. I think this was one that kind of started out in kind of like your worst fears come to life if you're a Bills fan. Twitter's not the best place to judge, but a lot of kind of doom and gloom and, oh my God, here we go again. This is over. This is terrible. And rightfully so. The defense is looking bad. The offense kind of sputters a little bit to start. They go down 21-11. It's the Bengals. It's Burrow versus Allen, all of these things. But, like we mentioned kind of in the intro, the Bills were able to cobble things together with, significant help from some turnovers on the defensive side of the ball, something that they relied on last year and were able to have in spades and able to kind of constantly rely on. They got some of those in this game. It helped turn the tide for the defense as the offense really found their stride in the second half. And it wasn't just, granted, in this game, there were some, oh my God, Josh Allen plays, but we saw some success on the ground. We saw some successful things conceptually and some changes in some ratios, different buttons being pushed, dials being turned, things like that for this Bills offense. And it was something where they needed contributions really from every person, each side of the ball. This Bengals team brought it. They believed in themselves. They were buying into hey, we can still make the playoffs at 4-8 with how the North is going. The Bills needed to bring it. They did, especially in that second half. And this was a really fun one to watch, like not only back on the tape, but just as a game. Winter Wonderland type of feel, back and forth, scoring, 2 good QBs, and the rivalry, everything. Yeah, good times in this game.
Yeah, it was a fun game visually to watch too, right?
Yeah.
Whether you were there or we watched it on the TV, it was just cool to see the snow and, the lines having to be, blown off the field so you could see under the snow, and just, it was a great atmosphere. It was visually pleasing, as you like to say a lot when it comes to watching football. And again, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, 2 teams that are very familiar with themselves. And it was fun because if we're talking offense and we're going to get into obviously the X's and O's, the nuts and bolts of the game, it was cool to see Josh Allen, on offense and letting the scheme kind of come to him, letting the game come to him. But then when that cape needed to come on, boy, did he put it on and put on a show for the fans at Highmark Stadium. I mean, high leverage situations, incredibly difficult plays made to look easy. by Josh. It was a fun game to watch, again, visually, but also there was some talent on that field, even though the field was a little murky at times. There was some talent on that field, and I thought in the end, those guys, those players decided the game. As we always say, sometimes it's the Jimmies and Joes, not the O's. And I thought guys like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Higgins at times took over this game in different, and Christian Benford, can't leave him out, took over the game at times, and those were the deciding players and plays to give the Bills the win against the Bengals.
Yeah, it's funny. You had kind of, the Bills trying to make sure one of those Jimmies or Joes couldn't do too much with the attention they were giving Jamar Chase and what they were doing with Benford from a coverage standpoint. But then Higgins, also not even to get to, I'm not one of those like, oh, the league, this is terrible. But T. Higgins clearly did not look right in the eyes. Like
he pointed to his helmet the first time. Like, what are we doing here?
That was ugly. And then he's having drops after he comes back in, and the camera's zooming in on him, and he just doesn't look like he's all there. Like, I don't know how. And I get it, cutthroat business football. If he wants to go in or he feels, but you could just, everybody and their mother watching that game could be like, he doesn't look
the average
right.
fan knew. Yeah, the average fan knew.
The way he was moving his eyes, all of that. But I don't want to say this because it makes it seem like it's okay, but kudos to him for being awesome. Like before the concussion, even after, he's making some plays, but the Bills tried to, prevent Chase from doing some stuff, which worked a little bit. But yeah, I really like the way you presented that from an Allen standpoint to kind of lead everything off. Like we saw early on, him, okay, I'm going to check this down, right? I got some coverage being pulled a little bit. Let me check this down to Chai Johnson. Let me work within the progression and do some things. And then next thing we know, later in the game, he's pulling off ridiculous touchdown throws, or he's adjusting the protection the wrong way, but then making up for it by just housing like runs and making plays. And yeah, it was a really interesting mix of, especially as the game went on, like him kind of, and as you put it, it was early on, I was like, okay. And he mentioned it a little in the post locker or the post game speech, like in the locker room after they won. He said like, we didn't ride that wave. And he's talked about it multiple times after games. Like they get too high, they get too low, they ride the wave. And we didn't really see that. Like they stayed true to themselves early on. They kept at it. They stayed through the process, not to use that word because it gets used so much now, but they stayed with the process, stayed through it. But like you said, when it came, like push came to shove, these high leverage moments, Allen started doing the mutant alien unicorn stuff, and then Burrow was doing some of that on the other side, like
dropping dimes, dude. The throw on the run in that weather, like come on, dude. Yeah, they were both dealing. And we we don't like talking about quarterbacks going against each other, but it metaphorically it was that way.
They were that way, and you got to feel like if you're those guys, like it. Oh, I got goosebumps thinking about it because like you're on the sideline, and like you played, like you if you got someone who is your equal on the other side, and they make a play, like you're like, all right. Take the coat off, get up. I got to make a play. It's just back and forth. Exactly. Okay, copy that. Like just back and forth and back and forth. And you get that in any sport. Like I love that in baseball with pitchers. You'll get like two guys dealing. It's similar with quarterbacks because of how they can control the game. And you can see dudes who just take the field or take the mound and know like, all right. And it was just such a cool. Obviously, it's more fun to talk about it because the Bills won. But that was just such a cool element of each one trying to, like you said, quarterbacks don't go against each other, but how they kind of battle with one another in the sense of that game was just so cool.
Right. And, as we zoom out a little bit and not just talk about, specific players, let's talk about game plan stuff. I thought Sean McDermott in his post-game pressers this week, he really dropped some cool knowledge. In the film room, we show you guys the film. We talk a lot about the film. We break down the film, but we also bring a lot of analytics to the table. And this week, I thought McDermott talked about analytics in a way that we don't get to hear many coaches talk about in both facets, because analytics are obviously used in two major facets of getting ready for a game. One, creating a game plan or strategy, right? But also in-game decision-making on top of, areas or tendencies and things like that. And so he talked about both. And specifically, I want to zone in on what he talked about when we're talking analytics and the tight ends and the production that tight ends have had against the Bengals defense. Because everyone coming into this game that previewed this, everyone that previewed this game knew that the Bills needed to attack with tight ends because everybody that has played against the Bengals has attacked them with their tight ends. It's analytically, you see it. Turn on the film, you see it. It's in your face. And I thought it was cool to hear McDermott talk about it on top of some of the, fourth down decision making and aggressiveness. He mentioned that as well. And that's the other side of it, right? That's the game plan, strategy type stuff, in-game situations and what they should do when X comes up. But this is the tight end stuff. I wanted to play his notes and video from his post-game presser. So listen in.
Our guys do a great job. We walk in on Mondays and they've crunched the data. And that was one of the areas that we felt, we could expose some of what they do. And, having Dalton back helped. Dalton had a big game, Dawson Knox, and then Jackson, as we just talked about. So Coach Boris is doing a great job getting all three of those guys ready, and it's good to have Dalton back. And I think from the sounds of it, he made it through healthy.
And I mean, that right there might be the most important thing that you talked about, right? That Dalton is healthy after that game. But the tight ends, the Bills attacked the Bengals' weakness in this game. Knox led in team target percentage at 25.9%. Finished the game with 6 receptions for 93 yards. Obviously, Kincaid and Haas also had touchdowns. But it started with the play action, right? That's how the Bills got the tight ends involved, especially if we're talking, not just play action, but early down play action. Because of what? Because of tendencies. And what the analytics probably told the Bengals, the Bills flipped it on its head and used it in some really nice situations to create big plays off of play action to their tight ends.
Yeah, we've talked about it on the show. We've talked about it on social. I've talked about it in Disguised Coverage. You've talked about it on Turf to Tape. Like we've talked about the different ratios or buckets the Bills kind of put themselves into. And, whether it's like early down pass versus run rate, under center and shotgun passing versus run rate. And I really thought like the first play of the game was such a good microcosm for how it went with how much they upticked their play action rate in this game. And I know you have some numbers in that to talk about, but that first play of the game, really, it's first down. They have the lowest pass rate on first down in the entire NFL. They're under center. They have one of the higher under center run rates in the league.
They're predictable.
And so they go predictable.
The tendencies show
exactly. And they go under center on first down. And so you're thinking, again, like what we've talked about, if you're building game plans for the Bills, you're thinking like, oh, it's first down, probably a run. And they're under center, pull. Most likely, definitely a run.
Right.
And then they pull David Edwards, add a little sauce with that false pull, and you just see the second level get sucked up. Dawson Knox gets a huge gain. I thought that first play really was not a kind of statement maker or like a tone setter, but more of like, hey, we're going to flip some stuff in this game. And their play action rate went up, as I know you're going to speak to.
Yeah.
And it was a huge piece for them in this game, especially just in general. We wanted that more for this offense, but especially when you're going against 2 rookie linebackers that have been attacked in a multitude of ways for this Bengals defense. You saw them kind of build this game plan around like, cool, we know where they struggle. Let's put that second level in hell. Let's get our tight ends involved. Let's do that via play action. I'm hopeful it wasn't just game plan specific, and it was more of like, hey, should we do more play action every week? Yes. Yes.
Are the fans right? Are analysts right? Yes.
Right.
Yes. You can never have enough play action with the Bills and Josh Allen, especially with how well they run the ball. And you don't even need that, as we'll see when we get to the nuts and bolts of the play action game. The Bills ran play action 47.2%. They were 10 for 13 for 135 yards and a touchdown. It was the right way to attack the Bengals defense. And it's something I think they need to lean on. There's a lot of talk about not having the talent out wide along the boundary. Well, they do have very good tight ends, whether we're talking the run game or pass game, and they can highlight them and maximize them more to attack, the defenses. And so I want to get to some of this film right away because
real quick, hold on. I don't want to lose state of it. So you mentioned that play action rate of 47.2%. Their play action rate on the year, including this game, is 23.9%. So that is a significant percentage point increase to go from like 1 out of every 5 to almost a 50% ratio. Crazy high. Sorry, I just want to get that in.
No, that's a great point. And again, tendency breaking, analytics, it all played a part in this game, as you'll see in the film. So first play of the game, you talked about it. The Bills run play action to Knox. You see the left guard Edwards pull. And that, of course, brings those linebackers down into the line of scrimmage. One, because they're a run-heavy team on first down, especially when Josh Allen's under center. Then you get a pulling guard. Yeah, that looks like run.
Mhm.
And it's funny because Evan Lazar, who covers the Patriots, he commented on a post of mine on Twitter saying, I'm surprised how effective the Bills passing game is when they pull a guard because they don't really run many pulling
Yes,
plays. But
dude,
look
I
at
was
what it
thinking.
does. Look at what it does to that second level. Look at the space that you get over the middle of the field in that intermediate area. Easy play. And a play, honestly, that the Bills used to run a ton of under Brian Dable.
Oh yeah.
And the Bills, again, they're not a pulling team, especially a guard pulling team, but that window dressing, that eye candy brings those linebackers down, single high safety look, and you can see Dawson Knox wide open for some run after the catch.
Yeah, you can see Knight number 44 and then Carter 49, as you have highlighted there with the arrows. Both of those dudes get sucked up into the line of scrimmage, and they are just in no position to get any kind of depth, impact this throw. Allen is able to stand tall, see over the line. I love that point that you brought up from Lazar. I swear I didn't see that. That's the first thing in my head, because we talk about all the time, like when they pull, you'll get some pin and pull stuff every once in a while, but when they pull, it's usually their tackles because they don't have these mobile guards. And, one of kind of the staple of play action pieces, like I remember learning back in the day, it's like, oh, if you really want to sell play action, pull one of your guards and it really influences. And that, I remember learning that in football, like watch the guards. If the guards pull, follow the guard. They'll lead you the ball, so on and so forth. But it's almost like the opposite for the Bills. Like if you see a guard pulling, it's more like, oh, no, that's play action, because if they're running the ball, they're not pulling a guard.
And Joey Gons makes an interesting point. So he says the Texans didn't bite on play action, so I'm glad they decided to still go with it on this game. It worked great. And that's where, I think the Bills are changing some things up. I'm told that the Bills have been working on the last few weeks of marrying the run concepts they show, it's dual, mid zone, with their play action a little closer, a little tighter.
And you've
so
seen
that
that. You've
they
seen
can
some play
disguise it.
action based off
Yes.
of the duo. We saw it last week. We
Yes.
saw it in this game. Like that's
Where the
a huge
Shavers
thing.
and Shakir are coming in through the C
Exactly.
gaps and then
Yes.
releasing on the routes. Now, it didn't work out that well, but they're starting to marry those plays to their play action game. And that's really important when you're trying to disguise whether it's run versus pass, but also, trying to get players in the open field like they are able to do on this play. Again, I'm more of a guard type pull play here. And so we move forward to another play to Knox. And I thought Joe Brady did a great job of using eye candy, misdirection, leading eyes one way, throwing the other way. This is a play we've seen from Cook out of the backfield with Shakir to the left of Josh Allen, where they try to hit the rail route across the formation to Cook, and Josh sees there's nothing there. It's very similar to like the last play. You're getting that post and kind of that rail wheel right here. Well, as you can see, what that does, it opens up the middle of the field on a delay release from Dawson Knox. And I think a lot of this on this play, as you'll see from the end zone angle, really happens because of the scheme, right? So you get the center pull from McGovern, obviously much like that guard pull on the last play. You see how that affects the D line and second level, but Shakir going left to right on the screen, then Cook, coming across. You get split flow going in different directions, and what happens is this guy travels with Cook. He carries the rail. This guy widens with Shakir, who's obviously essentially becomes either number 2 or number 3 on this play. He widens, and then that delayed release from Knox right here, chip, and then releases over the middle. And just look at the middle of the field and how wide open it is. Just beautiful stuff from a scheme perspective. But again, using the analytics and using plays that attack those linebackers of the Bengals.
Yeah, and even really adding into like who's at right tackle in this game, Ryan Vandermark. And so it's even more believable if you're Cincinnati thinking like, okay, they want to try and give him some help. Murphy, number 99 for the Bengals, was off the edge on this one. He had a good game in this one. He was giving Vandermark some trouble. So you're sitting there thinking like, okay, like maybe Knox is giving some help. Maybe, he's going to chip or jam and release, whatever the hell. He engages with Murphy and everybody just completely forgets about him as they're processing all of that eye candy like you talked about. And then as you have highlighted, you get that dish. Yeah. Allen is able to stand tall in the pocket and he's just playing, okay, who's open? Who can I find? Oh, the Red Sea has parted in between the numbers. Let me find Dawson Knox on that little delayed release after engaging Murphy a little bit. It's nice when you've got, this is a good example of, eye candy, not just for the sake of eye candy, but with a purpose. If you are especially second level defender, you are processing, all right, there's 2 guys in the backfield. One is exiting this way. The other is exiting that way. I've got a false pull going on. Even if you just stand still and don't move to process that, you're dead in the water, but you have to move based on your responsibilities and acknowledge what's going on there. And then you have highlighted exactly like that's just, I don't know what's wider than an alley. I guess a street. Like that's just a street, I guess, for Dawson Knox, who just continues to get wide
Interstate.
open. Oh, yeah, there you go. I'll say, yeah, 4-lane interstate. Like, I guess that's what we'll go with. Just beautiful design. And we've seen Brady do this over the years, like some good tight end design. And it was nice how we brought it back into this game and married it with some purposeful eye candy to stress those guys at the second level and really make the tight end game even more effective.
So Knox, again, 25.9% team target percentage. Kincaid was 18.5%. 4 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown. Here's a touchdown. Very simple play, low red zone. You're just Greg Olsen did a great job of explaining this. I can't
awesome.
do it any better. I can't do it any better than him. He's very good. Essentially calling this a yo-yo motion, right? With Kincaid trying to ID coverage. And really this coverage, as you said, is really meant to get leverage, right? So as the outside corner right there picks up Kincaid, he's got outside leverage on Kincaid. That gives Kincaid that inside leverage and, lane to get inside over the Bengals corner. And just what a throw. What a throw by Josh on this, trusting his eyes and what he's seeing, trusting that this guy is going to get the running back and getting out of the passing lane. Like, what a throw by him. What a catch by Kincaid in the elements for the touchdown.
Yeah, and this is, DJ Turner, number 20 for the Bengals. I know the Bengals defense, everybody knows at this point, like they're not that good. Everybody laughs at him. Haha. DJ Turner's had a pretty sneaky good year for them.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got some length. He's got physicality. He sees this and he undercuts it. That ball has to be on the upfield shoulder on time with precision and placement and zip. And you can see it right there. It's such a great screenshot. Like, Allen puts it right on the friggin' money. As also in that screenshot, you see number 99, Murphy, was getting into the backfield too. So you get a bit of a quick pressure on as Allen releases the ball there. Actually, not so much. I'll take that back. You get that kind of flash, and it just doesn't matter. Like you said, Allen trusting his eyes, trusting his arm. He's able to step into that throw. Bang. Right on point, a little high on purpose, right at that helmet level. Let's get it up and away from the corner who's going to drive underneath on that. The angle from Kincaid, the ball placement from Allen, the hands from Kincaid. This one was really pretty just because of how precise and quickly everything happened. Like you outlined.
Bang,
Kincaid
bang.
sees the leverage. Yes. Steps inside. Bang, bang. Read leverage, move, read it from Allen's perspective, fire a dot on point. That's good coverage. Like, you can't, if you're sitting there and watching this back as your DJ Turner, you're just like, good throw, man.
Tip of the cap.
Like that's it. You tip your cap. That's it.
No doubt about it, man. Josh had some of those plays, as did Burrow. But I thought they did a great job with Kincaid on when they were going to use him. Again, he's not 100%, but they used him in those high leverage situations like that in the low red zone. Obviously, these third down situations, he converted to these screens, these RPO screens, for big plays, 15, 20-yard plays. Obviously, the defense showing blitz up and around the line of scrimmage, and that puts the defenders, at depth, and that really just gives the Bills in this 4-strong formation the numbers and space and leverage to just throw it out there to Kincaid and use some of his run after catch ability as a tight end to create big plays and explosive plays for the Bills offense.
Yeah, we saw the Bengals mugging, and, you want to try and get outside that and win the leverage battle based on kind of what they're doing inside. The Bengals ran a lot of cover 0 in this game. They ran a lot of single high. They were bringing some pressure. They were attacking, and you get these kind of looks and presentation from a defense, exactly as you've highlighted there on the check mark. 1,000% the right read. Spit this out quickly. You've got 2-on-2 from a blocking perspective out there. So a hat on a hat, that's a numbers advantage for the offense. You've also got the space advantage because you're going to the field side, and you've got the angle advantage because anybody who's coming after Kincaid is either 27 battle, who's got to chase him from the line coming back out, or at best it's that safety 38, the DB who rotates to that boundary hash. Exactly. Those are favorable angles for Kincaid. You've got favorable numbers. Football more often than not comes down to angles, numbers, and space. This is the advantage. This is an easy third down conversion just based off of the math and the angles on top of it.
Well, we can't leave Mr. Haas out, right? And so Play action. This is a play again. The Bills ran a ton under Dable, these crossing routes. And I remember the one year they ran this play, and I think their tight ends scored like 6 or 7 touchdowns off of this, especially in the red zone, low red zone like this.
The Lee Smith special over here.
Yeah, the Lee Smith, Dawson Knox that year.
Yeah.
It might have been, was that 2020?
I was thinking 2020 because I'm thinking of Lee Smith scoring and there being nobody in the stands because it was COVID. I'm thinking like the Rams game, the Seahawks game 2020.
Yep. That year they ran that a bunch. So Bills, I know they're in the eye, but with that motion by Haas, they're kind of trying to make it look like their counter concept that they're running. But again, it's that downhill nature from the I formation. And the Bengals do a good job of covering everyone up. Josh wants to hit Gabe Davis here. Good job of safety picking it up, and then Osai dropping out from the edge position. This play is taken away, and that's typically where the ball does go to. But you see Haas initially stay in the block and then delay a release and just find some space over the middle. And Josh finds him late in the play. Very good protection. Josh stands tall and hits Haas for the touchdown.
Yeah, this was nice to see kind of just who you're getting through in terms of Allen, like kind of reading things out, seeing how things are covered. You talk about Gabe being taken away. You'll see 20 DJ Turner again, who we talked about getting beat by Kincaid earlier. He's all over Brandon Cooks here. He's got some good pre-snap communication. He locks down on him as Cooks goes across the field on that over. And so Allen's sitting there like, who do I find? And Haas just makes himself available. He engages, he blocks, he sheds, he gets into like the space. Like that's a good feel. That's a good find. This is like some nice spatial awareness. And again, nobody picks him up. 49. Barrett Carter is, trying to execute his responsibility and read Allen's eyes. Like, where do I go? Giles Harris, number 42, has to honor Cook. He picks him up. There's nobody there for Haas because of how late the play developed and because of their red zone assignments plastering on the initial eligibles. This was really nice. Again, another kind of tight end delay into their a la what we showed on the second or third play here with Dawson Knox. Engage, shed, take advantage of that space that will develop as the play goes on. And those type of things only work too if your pass protection holds up everywhere else. If you need 3.5 seconds to let that play develop, that means you got to pass pro and anchor and keep that pocket nice and clean and sturdy and strong for 3.5 seconds or whatever it takes to let the play develop.
Yeah, and I talked about it at the top. I thought Josh did a great job of letting the game come to him, playing efficiently. But then there were those moments that Josh needed to become Superman, and he did that. And again, the high leverage situations, we're going to bring a bunch of those plays, whether it's the 40-yard scramble, the third and long scramble, the touchdown to Shakir. There was an awesome back shoulder throw that Shakir to Shavers that kind of goes unnoticed because of all the other big plays he made. But that was on a drive where they got those chunk plays that led to a quick score. And then, of course, some of those, even just that little throw to Kincaid on that screen, the placement was so critical to the run after catch ability of Kincaid on both of those RPO screens that I know a lot of fans hate.
Maybe think of I forget what play it was off, but when he pinned it on Cook last week or the week before, swinging out of the backfield right on that upfield shoulder. Yeah. And you're just like, oh, like that's really great ball placement. And it was nice to see in this game too, because he missed one early on to Ty Johnson going this way at top of the field. And you're like, oh, and he had one that was a little wonky to Shakir, but Shakir caught on the third down, I think a couple drives after that. But then he responded with just prime placement. Again, like you said, when he needed to, it was like, all right, no more fooling around, dust off the cape. Like Burrow's out there balling. I got to make some plays. I got to make some throws. And then he just decided to do it with his arm and is like, yep, okay.
So we talked about the play action stuff. We talked about the tight ends. Now we're going to talk about Josh Allen and his takeover of this game as we go forward in the film. So let's have some fun here. 4th down play by the Bills. Ty Johnson up in the A-gap blocking. And when we're talking scheme and letting the scheme come to him, there's really no one really open on this play. He's getting pressured. And what does Josh do? He becomes a magician, gets out of the pocket, outside the left of the pocket. Gabe snaps off his route. One of the main reasons they brought him back, his ability to read his quarterback. When his quarterback is in trouble in the scramble drill mode, he finds some space and he's able to help Josh convert this for the big 1st down.
This is such a harder throw than it looks. Like Allen essentially throws this from the 50, his 48 to roughly 24 yards downfield, rolling to his left. opens up his hips as much as he can with Carter 49 bearing down on him, and then just fires a dot right on Gabe Davis and pins it right on him. About 24, 25 yards downfield, rolling left, opens the hips on 4th down. Gotta have it type of deal. Like you said, great job by Gabe kind of uncovering. That was one of the things that he was sneakily strong at his time here. We talked about it when he left. It was like, all right, this is going to be more for Diggs to pick up, and who else will fill that because Gabe Davis was so good at it. You see his eyes locked right there as he's running his route. He sees, Allen's escaping. Let me slam on the brakes. Let me find space. The underneath guy is reacting to Shakir coming across, so he can't just flat out bail and get under. The DB over the top has been run off. Really nice job by Davis, and then Allen finding him, and even Deion Dawkins too, kind of burying Osai as Osai tries that spin move in the back. Allen's able to escape. This one is even like, this is sweet, but I feel like this one gets lost with all the other plays. This is hard. Rolling left, you got to open up your hips. It's in the wind. It's in the snow. Your footing's not great. You got a defender bearing down on you. Another one chasing you from behind. This is filthy.
Yeah, just fun to watch. Again, visually pleasing too. Whether you're talking, the field, him getting out to his left, making that throw, but yeah, the blocks by Deion and the offensive line, and Josh just keeping it alive for the big first down. Again, high leverage situation, 4th down play here. So now again, let's go look at this play now, right? This is a play, a shallow drag type concept that Josh has decent time to start, and you see, with the play being 4th down and where the sticks are, you can see there's really nothing open here. And so Josh goes into scramble mode, gets outside the pocket, and then, makes this throw to Shakir. And this is our easy loan auto sales play of the game. This is just incredible. And I'll let the film do the talking from the end zone angle, but Josh making a play, Josh putting on the cape when needed, when the scheme isn't there, when everyone's covered up and he has no one to throw to on 4th down, he makes magic by getting it to Shakir. And some people are still asking, was he throwing that to Shakir or was he throwing that to Shavers? I don't know. I can't tell you for sure, but I just know Josh somehow snuck this in when you look at it from the end zone angle for a touchdown.
This throw is just super unreal. It's 4th and 4. The Bills are down 11. Yeah, it's early, but it's 4th and 4. You're down 11 in a game where it essentially kind of looks like, okay, we need to keep scoring. We have to be able to keep our foot on the gas because the Bengals seem to be keeping their foot on the gas. He evades, tries to shake 92, who does a really good job.
Yes.
Like BJ Hill right there does a really good job staying on Allen, especially considering the footing, the weather, the elements. And this is where you actually have it perfectly freeze framed. Like, I think Allen's going to Shakir. He sees him right here.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose to believe that in my heart of hearts. He sees Shakir go up, and to be able to slam on the brakes.
Slams the brakes on, dude. That's crazy in this weather.
Absolutely. Like, slams on the brakes.
Steps back.
Yes. I forget, I'm not even trying to drum it up too much. He did something. Similar to kind of the throw against the Steelers to Coleman, where he slammed on the brakes and is making a throw while his momentum is carrying him away. That's kind of similarly happens here. He slams on the brakes, is kind of jumping and falling back, and that's all arm. Fires it over Torrance, over 99 Murphy, and whizzes it right by the ear hole of Knight, number 44. Oh, that's unreal. That's one of the best throws he's ever made, like all things considered. Like that throw is nuts.
Unreal. I mean, we could watch this replay the entire show. It's just so much fun to watch, man. And I agree, Hill did a great job of not jumping, containing Josh, and Josh just is able to put the brakes on and then jump back and again find just enough of a platform to make this throw. And up through traffic and to Shakir. It just unreal stuff. And if there's one play for this segment, the easy loan auto sales making it look easy play of the game, if there's one play to really encompass the sarcasm behind this segment, it's this play. His ability to make this look so easy and so routine. And I agree with you. Probably my favorite pass by him in his career. It was the pass against the Patriots rolling left and throwing it to, I believe, Diggs. This play may trump that. This play may trump that because of the difficulty rolling to his right, the traffic that he's thrown to, his ability to somehow find a platform in front of his coach you see on the sidelines, and then make it through traffic on the back end of the linebacker and make it to Shakir by throwing it right by the ear hole. This linebacker, man, he made it look easy, but as we all know, this was not easy for Josh Allen.
No, yeah, this is a good one. We were putting this episode together and you were like, oh, what do you think for the easy low? And I was like, the Allen touchdown to Shakir. And you were like, oh, yeah. Like, it was just one of those, you know it when you see it. Unreal play from Allen. And it's everything. It's the throw. It's the elements. It's the defender in front of him. It's the defenders bearing down on him. It's the coverage. It's the team. It's the moment. There's all these high leverage added contextual elements on top of it that make it even better and add more to it from a pressure standpoint, let alone the actual physical execution. To slam on the brakes, arm this thing through right on the dot by the ear hole, the backer, right onto Shakir, and also good on Shakir. You know, recognizing Allen's in trouble, putting on the brakes himself, getting upfield, having the wherewithal to make himself available. Yeah, all of these things. Very difficult. But Josh Allen, Khalil Shakir, and the Bills made this look easy. That's why it is our Easy Loan Auto Sales, making it look easy. Play of the game, sponsored, of course, by Easy Loan Auto Sales. Easy Loan Auto Sales is Western New York's premier buy here, pay here car dealership with locations in Buffalo and Lockport. Regardless of your credit history, they offer the fastest car buying experience around. Get approved and reserve your vehicle all from your phone, and you can start your approval at easyloanauto.com, and you could be driving today.
Awesome stuff, man. And as we move forward, we also saw some really nice stuff from the Bills offensively, again, in some high leverage situations. And here's one where the Bills are trying to run. What concept, Anthony? All right, let's get through this play. But it's a play where, Josh, one, gets a little pressure early in the second half, gets pressure off the right side of the offensive line, Vandemark and Murphy, as you talked about earlier. Really nice pass off, though. Again, on these mesh concepts, you're seeing usually the offense is trying to get it, up the sideline first. Over here, that's taken away. But then this is usually number two, but they're ready for it. The Bengals are ready for it. They've seen this play on film a bunch of times from the Bills, and they take that away. But you see Josh get outside the pocket and do a great job of scrambling for the first down. But the reason I picked this play, not because it's mesh and I hate mesh, it's the pass protection, because we've talked about the load front the entire year and how the Bills struggle versus this little overload, 3 to one side, 2 to the other. But, usually this second guy right here is kind of a spy. He's a low hole player, and the Bills like to keep 5 offensive linemen and protect, no help. And usually one of the guards, and on here you see Edwards is usually accounting for that spy or low hole player. And there were times where he's chased him and, at the line of scrimmage, as he drops out, like you see 49 do here, he'll drop out and it leaves basically 4-on-4 for the offensive line. Well, this is one of those plays where the Bengals look to have a 3-man game. Edwards does a great job of just finding work. I don't think this was planned. In fact, I'm told he did a great job of finding work. And honestly, it was probably to his surprise, because as soon as that guy drops out, you see him peel back. And this is awesome from a mental processing standpoint, because as he peels back, this is that looper, right? This is that a spiker and a looper.
Crazy.
He's able to pick off, again, I don't think this was planned. He's able to pick off Osai, who is essentially that looper, and that allows Josh to exit the pocket and scramble for first down. So again, I hate the play concept when we're talking the mesh concept, but I had to highlight my guy, David Edwards, left guard here, and his mental processing to pick up the looper and Osai on that load front from the Bengals.
Yeah, we talked about this whole 5-man protection, one of the guards jumping out to meet one of the spies and it creating 4-on-4. We talked about it at length in the Texans game. Granted, that's a bit of an extreme example with how good their front is, but just a great adjustment from Edwards finding work. And yeah, it could not have worked out better. As he's making his way to Allen, he gets his hand on Osai and then feels him. Yeah, right there. Okay, let me just, whether he's thinking of feeding him, just getting a hand on him to see what's up, but he does that to get a feel and have some kind of guide as he's watching Allen, sees Allen evade, and then just athletically, smoothly turns, gets into Osai, and he has no, like, he doesn't have leverage. He doesn't have like the strength there, but all he needs to do is just impede Osai. Like,
Yep.
that's it. And that's what he does. It changes the angle. It changes the momentum Osai has, gives Allen the opportunity to continue to stay upfield, change his angle a little bit and get more north and south instead of having to continue on an angle more towards the sideline and get less yardage. That's just a crazy veteran find work type of deal from Edwards in a moment, again, where they needed it. I also really, on that one, I wanted Allen to finish through that run so much better. Like, that was a good tackle from Cincinnati. In the game, I was thinking like, oh my God, he's going to run through Dax Hill. And then he fell down and I was like, oh, stupid, like snow or footing or whatever.
Well, I mean, here's another iteration or variation of mesh, but this is one I think we approve of a little more.
This one's sweet.
Yeah, this one's pretty sweet, especially how it's presented. So initially you have a trips bunch. Brandon Cook is in the backfield. James Cook is up in that bunch formation, but they bring him across.
Double cooking. There's some joke to be made there.
And they align and settle in what is Brendan Marion's go-go offense. Essentially, you have Cook here, Cook's there, and you saw the motion and how that uncovers, the man coverage. But this is that play that the Bills love to run called slither. Some people call it mesh traffic, and essentially the two receivers at the top of the screen they're really setting picks, right? Because they're gonna get man coverage. We saw this a bunch. It was one of the plays that we highlighted for Matt Collins and his ability to create that traffic over the middle for James Cook when they ran this against I think it was the Finns, right? The Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get that pick really happening, and there's pressure off the edge. Josh is able to get it up and over that pressure. And then James Cook is in the open field against one of those linebackers, and he's up the sideline for the big gain, another big third down conversion. This one, more so the scheme and the setup and presentation than actually Josh, putting that cape on. This time, very good scheming by Joe Brady.
I like this version of, all the jokes of mesh aside, and even the individual dressing up on this one in presentation, which is great. When they've run mesh traffic or slither, as Brady calls it, and we mentioned here, it's largely been successful. They run this one, I feel like, the least versus mesh rail and kind of just standard mesh. So I like that it's mesh traffic, which is nice. And yeah, you talked about the go-go offense element. We get the double sidecar look here with Cook and Cooks. That's going to confuse the hell out of me. I'm going to stumble over myself. I wanted to label it, but I'm just going to, with Cook and Cooks, that's too much. And yeah, that whole idea of like that double sidecar look or the go-go offense, with what Marion does with, different formations and looks and two back stuff, trying to create mismatches and exploit defenses. And here they use it to lead into mesh traffic, get that opening for Cook. Oh, I was going to say Cooks for James Cook, because I'm just going to call everybody by their first names. And it works out perfect. This is also something brand new. Like, they have never done this. Like, we haven't seen this. This is like a new wrinkle, new look, awesome. And it works out obviously very well for them. And Shakir does a really good job obstructing Carter without obstructing Carter. Just kind of gets in his way. Okay, let me move, slow him down. And he needed every ounce of like time to hold him as much as possible, because Cook gets impeded a little bit coming out of the backfield with the angle that Osai, number 58 for the Bengals, takes. You see there's that little hitch in the giddy up as Cook is trying to get through that B gap. Edwards puts a body on Osai, which kind of impedes Cook a little bit. But because Shakir gave him that time and created a more advantageous angle from him, plus James Cook's ability to just kick it into gear as soon as he gets the ball, creates that, that miss and that ride into space there. That might have been my favorite play of the game, just because of seeing something that's more unique to the college game present in the NFL, and how much we've talked about, like, okay, going forward, what wrinkles do we get? What new things do we get?
Right.
That's a really cool, unique, brand new wrinkle to something that they already love to do. Really, really cool from Brady, and really fun to see it, how it played out.
Yeah, and a few NFL teams are running that, it's not a base offense, but the go-go offense. They have different iterations and plays I've seen at the NFL level a few times over the years. And Coach Marion, I believe he transferred. He actually just got hired by Deion Sanders in
he's
Colorado.
The offensive coordinator of Colorado now. Yeah.
Yep. So you'll be seeing a lot of that in the Colorado offense. And here's a play. Obviously, the 40-yard touchdown, just Josh Allen taking over. But I also want to highlight something that, once again, like the load front we talked about, and an issue that has come up in the Bills offense when it comes to, 5-man protections. And so we're going to see it from the end zone angle. A lot of times in these 5-man protections, offensive linemen, one tackle or the other, or a guard, will have a dual protection where they are essentially accounting or have to account for two guys. They have to read. And usually, kind of like on this play here, you have an edge player and then an inside linebacker. And if you guys remember the Panthers game, Dawkins, he did what? He kicked out, and that inside linebacker got the pressure on Josh, right? That was a mistake.
First drive of the game, I believe.
Yep. And then the Buccaneers game when the Bills were backed up. And same thing happened. Josh stepped up. He threw the interception. He was hurried. They've been having issues with, one, Josh setting protections and where to set it. Two, the squeeze play where, hey, if that inside linebacker comes, we always talk about it. Dawkins has to squeeze inside. If not, then he's reading out and he's kicking out to the edge player. Well, what's funny about this play, Anthony, is hearing Josh Allen after the play talk about this. He talks about, setting the protections and stuff like that. And on this one, Dawkins actually kicked out wide, right? He kicked out wide with that edge player. So when this is unfolding, I'm like, oh no, not again.
Here we go.
Oh no, not again. But Dawkins came through once again, boom, knocking that guy into another stratosphere. And we highlighted Edwards in that heady play, peeling around against that load front. After the game, Dawkins actually said that David Edwards is the one that alerted him to that linebacker possibly coming. And if he came, that Dawkins would have to squeeze. And sure enough, Dawkins does. And that allows Josh to break the arm tackle of the wide edge rusher. And then, of course, take this one to the house for the 40-yard touchdown.
Yeah, actually, the way Dion takes his initial set to kind of go with the edge rusher before squeezing back inside to pick up 42, it actually helps a little bit because it kind of makes 52 have to rush more upfield off the edge.
Wider,
and
right?
then, and in this footing, in this weather, it's hard for him to kind of change course and get flat. You can see him kind of as he hits the apex of that arc, he's kind of adjusting his footing because he can't just bear down and his angle isn't clean because he went upfield.
And it's Josh Allen, right?
Trying to tackle
Josh Allen.
Exactly. So then as Allen sees it and steps up, like you said, he only gets an arm on him, and that's not doing anything. That's not doing anything. So Dawkins' initial set, plus the way he erases the linebacker, essentially creates like a nice little crease and gap for Allen. Allen sees it, takes off. We have just nothing but open space and green grass. We get some downfield blocking from Gabe Davis and Brandon Cooks downfield, and there is just there's just so much space. And this one was huge. They were down. Cincinnati had just scored
10 points. Right?
Yes, you're down multiple scores. It's late in the fourth quarter. You need a quick score. This one, I think, came a couple plays after that back shoulder. I believe the Shavers.
Yes.
Yeah, so they got chunk plays. They needed it. This flipped the momentum, I think, kind of back in their favor and was like, all right, we can do this. And if this is for an offense that has been having to matriculate the ball down the field, they get a chunk to Shavers. They get this huge touchdown run. Then they come back on the next drive on defense. You get the Benford interception, and the game kind of spirals for the Bengals from there. Huge moment. Great play from Allen. Good adjustment from Dawkins. Great IDing and acknowledgement and heads up from Edwards. Huge, huge, huge pendulum swinging play.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Benford play. We'll end the breakdown on that. But obviously the third and long late in the game really, solidified the game in the Bills' favor. But it's one that I was kind of alluding to in the last play where Josh admitted after the game that he called this protection. He called this route by Johnson. It's something we talked about. We talked about, hey, there are times where teams are just blitzing because Ty Johnson's staying in the block. So Josh admitted, he said, I thought we were going to see cover zero on this play. So what does he do? He called this route for Ty Johnson to sneak him out. Well, usually when they sneak this guy out of the backfield, if you guys remember, James Cook did it, or Singletary actually did it against the Dolphins years ago, remember?
Yeah, that stupid Sun game.
And then James Cook did it in week 1 against the Bengals, where the Bengals are bringing everyone, and they just, instead of keeping that running back in the block, they just slipped him out across the formation. Well, that's what Josh was thinking here. And I love where his head's at, because initially what's he do? He calls a slide protection. So he admits he was expecting cover 0. He slid the protection this way. And then he called this route by Ty Johnson out of the backfield across the formation. But the funny thing about this is that by Josh doing that, he actually screwed himself, because that left this guy unblocked. And so when Josh wanted to get rid of it hot, he couldn't get it to Ty Johnson on this play. So it almost backfired on him, right? But because he's Josh Allen, because he can wear a cape, able to get out of it, and he gets up the middle for the first down. So it's funny to see these kind of plays, because the result is fantastic. The process wasn't the best, even though I like where his head is at. And it's something that we've been talking about when these teams run those blitzes and those cover 0 pressures. Just slip the running back out. I like where his head's at, but it almost screwed him here. But of course, it's Josh Allen. It's a high leverage play. It's a must needed play, and he delivered against the Bengals.
Yeah, it's just so funny, like in hindsight and retrospect. Like this is the game sealing scramble, 17 yards on 3rd and 15. And Allen screws up, like you said, like he made, and I pulled the quote that, like you alluded to. He literally says, quote, "I was expecting 0. So I changed the protection, changed the route from our back, and it just kind of opened up, and I just took off and tried to get a first."
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. Like that full slide, like you highlighted, it creates a straight up free runner off the left edge. Osai leaves his feet, number 58, that free runner off the left edge. Allen navigates that. And then the one tech is looping to his right. And Allen sees that, so he's got to avoid the chaos that he just created. He tries to go right, but he can't evade, and then the Red Sea just parts, so he steps up into the daylight and then takes off. And then the big piece here, Geno Stone, 22, or Dax Hill, 20, I don't know.
Stone.
Stone, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Dax Hill's 23. Why does that always throw me? The stupid Dax Hill conversation coming out of Michigan, like, is he a safety? Is he a corner?
Gosh,
He can do both. That's still in my head and frustrating the hell out of me. Geno Stone meets him about 5 yards short of the sticks here on this play. So not only is Allen does all the awesome stuff behind the line, if Stone tackles him right where Allen shakes him, they're short. It's going to be 4th and 5, 4th and 4, somewhere around there. But he gives that little hezzy, and all he has to do is create a slight angular advantage because he's a moose in the open space, and it's going to be really hard to bring him down, especially from a DB. Shakes him, gets through that arm tackle, the balance, and the ability to just stay up in this weather at his size, everything crazy, just game sealing. Everything's great. And if you're Cincinnati, you're sitting here pissed at yourself, like you're down 5. It's 3rd and 15. You have the chance. You have not even the chance. You have a great chance to get the ball back. And Allen screws up. And then after the game, he says it. He's like, yeah, screwed up. And it's just like, oh, doesn't matter. Like I screwed up, made up for it. Just we've talked so much about Cook making defenses wrong or when they're right. And this is kind of what happened here. Like Bengals were right or close to being right. And Allen made them wrong in an instant.
And Kay Amori says, Bengals content makers are angry with the back 7 on this play. Did they mess up really, really bad? I see a lot of those content makers saying that there should have been a spy. Josh Allen was even asked about that. And he's like, yeah, but it was like 3rd and 15. You're not expecting the quarterback to run it. But I think from here on out, you will. You want to slam the door shut. You better put extra eyes on Josh Allen, regardless if it's 3rd or 4th and long. Because I wouldn't say this was a mistake. It's not expected, but you do have to know who you're playing against. And there's maybe a couple maybe of quarterbacks that can convert, these type of plays with their legs on 3rd and long to put the nail in the coffin. And Josh is one of them. So I can understand why they're upset, why there wasn't a spy on this play. But man, Josh Allen, when he needed to, he put the offense on his back again when he needed to. He didn't always have to in this game. Played very efficiently, but this is one of those plays that he saw and he tasted the win, right? He tasted the win. It was right there. And he's like, you know what? Let's make sure that happens. And again, it wasn't even, the result was great. The process, there's some good to the process, but at the same time, he could have really screwed himself. But as Bills fans, we're happy, obviously, it came out in our favor on this 3rd and long play as he was able to convert this to pretty much seal the game.
Yeah, you could, in a perfect world,
Our
like
guys do a
again,
great.
in hindsight, I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, maybe let's do some odd mirror, especially with, they were able to get after Vandemark a little bit. Like I feel
Yeah.
like you can get Allen off the spot and then have that aggressive spy behind it, play even more numbers in coverage. But again, even with what they did up front, like that was a really good spike inside from Murphy, 99. That's what frees up the one tech. Like they didn't have a poor rush plan, and the coverage worked on the back end that Allen just made a play. Like, and again, could you have done something to counteract that? Sure. But odds are, like, majority of the time, that play is going to end in your favor if you're the Bengals. Now,
It
this
was
one
one of those
time,
tip of the cap plays, really, in my opinion. There were a lot of those in this game for both sides, to be honest. It was that tight of a game. The margins were so slim, but the Bills capitalized and came out with a couple more of those plays thanks to
yeah,
Josh Allen when we're talking late in the game.
that's just what you have guys who do that. Like, you're
Yeah.
just. I mean, it's similar to, granted, their tackling was a little bad, but it's similar to the Bears having the Packers on 3rd and short, and they got 4 dudes bearing down on Josh Jacobs, and Josh Jacobs was able to fit through all 4 and get into the low red zone, and the Packers scored a tutty after that. Like, it's just one of those, like, oh, like their dude made a play. And yeah, I get it in hindsight. I saw that a lot too. Like, how can you not spy Josh Allen? And I was like, it's 3rd and 15. Like, and your rush plan was working. Even up to that point, too, like the Bills obviously were having success. But the Bengals D line was getting to Allen a little bit. They were getting through Dawkins a bit. They were getting through Vandemark. Like, I understand the notion of like, hey, we'll rely on the front 4 to do some stuff and play coverage. And they did. And Allen just did a Josh Allen thing. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. And again, we did a lot of the offensive film for this, but we can't get out of this episode without talking about Christian Benford.
Man.
And the plays that he's made, the development he's had as a boundary corner, especially if we're talking specifically last couple of weeks, I think they're starting to find their footing. I mean, again, relatively speaking to the defense and how there are still struggles. They're still giving up points. There's no doubt about it. But I think they're finding the ingredients and recipe for slowing down sometimes number 1 wide receivers, kind of making offenses go to other weapons. And the Bengals have plenty of those guys, whether you're talking T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki, Chase Brown, the running back, is pretty talented. Yosevis as well. They have guys that they can pivot to. But I thought, when you go back to the Steelers game, you go to this game, we're talking Metcalf and Chase and Christian Benford. They're finding out that he can do some things if you weaponize him. And we've seen that the most the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been nice to see them kind of lean into, he's one of the best tackling corners in football, one of the best run defending corners in football. And then he's this dude that, from a skill set or traits perspective, like other than his run defense, he's not really built in this elite way, but he doesn't really have deficiencies. He's just above average to above average, or really good at a bunch of stuff. And they've leaned into like, hey, you're kind of a bigger physical type of corner. Let's let you just go battle with some of their dudes. And DK, we talked about it. Like, he's bigger. You want to start him before he can get going. They did that. Chase is a completely different animal. He can get going in a blink of an eye, in a hiccup. And they weaponized him, like you said, against Chase, like putting him in press and letting him beat up Chase, having a safety behind him. If it was, 2-man and letting him get into trail, or if it was cover 2 or cover 6 and he's in that cloud spot and he knows he's got somebody behind him. But I thought he did a good job just battling with Chase as part of the game plan in this one. And, my thought kind of going in was the opposite. I was like, okay, let him go battle with Higgins and then straight up kind of double Chase more and play more cover 2 with either Trey or Harrison and go from that. And they did the opposite way. They were like, no, we're going to go 1 for 1. We're going to go good on good. And Benford held his own and obviously made one of the biggest plays of the game with that interception and housing it. And I wish we could narrow it down to this one thing, but the success rate for the Bills defense on corner blitzes is out of this world at this point. They either get like tackles for loss, they're getting pick sixes, they're getting Benford fumble recovery, the scoop and score for Benford against the Steelers were on the corner blitz. Like, Trey White is making tackles for loss on the corner blitz. It continues to be something that works well for them. It was cool to hear Benford break that down, which we'll get to in a bit. But yeah, he's as he's gotten healthier, he's starting to make plays. I think McDermott has done a good job weaponizing him a bit these past several weeks. I'm really interested to see what they continue to do with him going forward, especially knowing some of the teams they might face in the AFC, provided they get to the playoffs. I'm not trying to jinx that. And knowing kind of how they can battle. It's been really cool to see what they've done with him.
I love the combination of the game plan stuff. Again, you flash back to the Steelers game. The Steelers offense is a yards after catch or run after catch team. Get the ball out of Rodgers' hands, have those guys get the yards after the catch. And the Bills said, you know what? No, we're not doing that. Again, we're going to put our big corner on Metcalf. We're going to have him disrupt the early rhythm and quick game. We'll have a safety over the top at times so that you can't hit him over the top vertically, and he can play aggressive to shut down that quick game. Similar game plan against Jamar Chase. He's a guy that can do it all. Obviously, he can take that 5-yard slant and take it to the house. He's a guy that can fight down the field for big plays as well. And so you saw a similar game plan, and they're able to do that with Benford, who, like you said, isn't the most athletically gifted, but he is technically sound.
Mm-hmm.
And he can use his size, his length, his technique, and quiet feet, up near the line of scrimmage to disrupt that quick game. Something that we know the Bengals wanted to kind of harp on and really go to because of the injury to Joe Burrow and because he slices and dices most defenses. And so I like that game plan by the defense and weaponizing Benford the last couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how they continue to build upon that, because even when it was zone, they put him to, Chase's side, and they at one time they rotated Benford in an off position. They rotated him post snap the deep half, and they brought Hancock, underneath. So there was a high-low bracket on Chase when they thought it was probably going to be more of just a normal zone coverage. So they did some cool things schematically and coverage-wise to shut down Chase as well. And honestly, the only time Chase started getting going is when they put him in the slot. And honestly, they probably waited too long to do that, because that would have really changed the Bills' game plan from that perspective. But as you said, when it comes to like the corner blitzes, talk about and really break down to fans the actual purpose behind the corner blitzes when they call them, especially on early downs. It's not necessarily to stop the pass, right, Ant?
No, it tends to be to stop the run. Yeah. And if it happens to be a pass, this goes back to every time we talk about something like this, I always go back to when they had that huge blitz rate against the Mac Jones Patriots. And it was like, wow, they're blitzing Jones in the pass. It's like, no, the Patriots want to run the ball. They're blitzing the run. But if it ends up being a pass, it's charted as obviously a pass blitz against that. We've seen it so much, like you said, on early downs, especially coming from the boundary, but they'll bring it from the field. They're doing it to really stop the run. They're usually slanting or stunting, the defensive end and the defensive tackle to that side. They're usually slanting him inside, like you're seeing on this one right here against the Steelers. Epinesa dives inside. Benford's coming off the edge. Boom, makes the tackle there. Now, yes, there are times where they'll bring it, to impact the pass and kind of disguise it a bit, like they did towards the end of the first half against the Bengals that led to a Christian Benford sack. You're thinking pass there. They disguise it really nice. But more often than not, they're bringing it on early downs. They're bringing it against formations and personnel where they're anticipating run mixed in with that situation. And they're getting TFLs against the run in a variety of ways, but they're also getting sacks. They're getting, toxic differential type plays. It's crazy how well it's worked out for them and how well they wield it and deploy it. They don't spam it a ton, but it almost feels like I said, every time they run it, the success rate is just so high. And it's been awesome to see it. And again, we're highlighting Benford in it, but Trey has been really good in this regard too, as well. It's funny how good it's been for them.
Yeah, he had a batted pass against Mahomes in that Chiefs game as well. Right. So here's the play, the sack from Christian Benford. He's the only one that had a sack in this game, and it came off a corner blitz. You see the rotation by the backside. Bills are showing pressure. They're showing a cover zero look, and the Bills had to kind of go to some of these pressure looks, some of these blitzes to affect Burrow, because just sitting back in landmark, zone coverages wasn't really working. But you see Benford come off the edge, and Joe Burrow's not realizing what's happening.
He
at
has
all.
no idea.
No clue that he's coming off the edge. And honestly, I'm surprised that Burrow didn't, fumble the ball here. I love this call because, as you said, the Bengals were driving, but this is a 2nd and long play, and you want to keep them in the 3rd and long. And so this was a play that helped them kind of stunt the Bengals prior to the half on that cornerback blitz. But they called it once again late in the game, and Burrow and company, Burrow and Chase, they were ready for it. They were ready for it. And what teams like to do is if they see that coming off the edge, what the wide receiver does is kind of just get out, widen a little bit and just get out. And it's called a now route, right? Or throw it now. And so I don't know what happens with Burrow and his mechanics, but he kind of shot puts it more than actually throws it, especially when you're talking how mechanically sound and smooth Burrow is. But it's very I don't know, like the sequencing's off, right? The sequencing's off a little bit. And you see Benford come off the edge, and he admitted that generally you're not supposed to jump up when this play happens. But he said God is essentially what told him to do it. Yeah, like he said it like 6 times. He jumps up and just plucks it out of the air and breaks the tackle and then just takes off for the touchdown with Jamar Chase in pursuit there. Just an incredible play from a corner to make, given this situation, given the momentum that was kind of building for the Bills. This turned the game on its head, changed the whole probability when it comes to win probability. This just really flipped the game in the Bills' favor, and the Bills really didn't look back after this.
No, yeah, good call. I think I saw something like that. This play added like 60 percentage points of like win probability of the Bills, or like some crazy skew. And this is right after the Bills had just scored on that Allen scramble touchdown that we showed. Yep. Yeah. But look where the Bengals are. Like the Bengals responded by driving right down the Bills' throat like they had for a majority of this game. They're approaching the red zone, still about 11, 12 yards away. And you're like, just somebody can hold them, like force a field goal. The weather's not great. Maybe they miss. And Benford, unreal play. And yeah, you highlighted it, like Burrow, like the transfer gets wonky. He tries to shot put it. It's not there. Or like his throw isn't there. He just pushes it, float it. It's essentially kind of like what he does to try and get it over Benford to Chase. And I have the quote from Benford. He said, I low-key was expecting run, so I was expecting to tackle, but I saw him, meaning Burrow, crank back, look for that now throw, and I wasn't supposed to jump. Like the technique is don't leave your feet. I don't know. God just gave me something for me to leave my feet. And he said it, multiple times, like God gave you something, like I put it in God's hands. Yeah. I'll take it, like whatever God gets him that at that point. He also mentioned too that he was kind of running like 70%. He thought he was gone, but he peeked over his shoulder and saw Chase was coming. So he had to like put it in gear a little bit more to make sure he scored. Unreal type of play. Like, like Burrow's mishandling of the ball obviously comes into play, but that's just, he's blitzing with the, like, because like we talked about, like they're usually bringing that against the run. It's an early down. You're sitting there thinking, okay, run blitz. If you're Benford, like he said, he called his number, and right in that quote,
a run was called. Run was called. Burrow, exactly again, right. That's like a run with a pass tag type of sight adjustment.
The Bills did that once to Gabe Davis in this game. They did it later in the game to Keon Coleman. Yep, we've seen it a bunch to Keon Coleman. Like they do those, whatever you call it, package plays or runs with a pass tag, however you want to label it. And, maybe also too, like, is the game plan getting in your head if you're the Bengals or Burrow and you're thinking like, let me keep getting it to Chase. It's working. Like they're kind of doing this. I see a one-on-one opportunity. Let me hit him on this now throw, bang, get something quick. One-on-one opportunity, or he's in space, see what he can do. And Benford's going in there, expecting run, expecting to tackle. The ball goes up the air. He plucks it. And that's crazy. That's another one too, where you're just like, you're so upset if you're the Bengals and Burrow, but it's more just like, all right, like tip the cap, I guess.
And I feel like, is that like the Bills' like best defensive recipe? Because they struggle versus the run, right? So they kind of almost invite it even more. And then teams, because the Bills are very good, we're talking passing defense. And so like it was one of those situations. Well, obviously the Bengals had a very good, passing day with Joe Burrow and his weapons. And they were driving there, like you said. And the Bills assumed that the Bengals were going to run it as, they had chunk play after chunk play leading, on that drive. And then they get over midfield and, they're thinking the run's going to come. But I think, like you said, maybe that kind of lured Joe Burrow and Chase to think, okay, I can, kind of put the dagger in this game by just getting it out there to Chase on, when the corner's blitzing. I feel like that's kind of like the Bills defense in a nutshell, where they lure when things are going well, they lure these teams to think certain things. And then there's that sleight of hand and plays like that happen. And now the Bills are putting guys in these situations like Christian Benford to make these plays. And so it's just interesting because we know the defense is struggling. And even the analytics, when you're talking how good of a pass defense they are, obviously that's skewed because they're that bad as a run defense. And so there is some, some of these stats can lie to you when you're looking at them schematically and analytically. But I feel like the Bills are at their best on defense when they get one to two plays like that a game, or in those high leverage moments, these players make these interceptions, these turnovers, these fumble recoveries, these sacks when they need them. And a lot of times, once they get the ball back to Josh, he can capitalize, especially if you're talking late in the game. And we saw that in this game against the Bengals.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is, largely kind of how last year went for him too. Like they had similar struggles against the run. There were issues, but it wasn't really killing them as much because they were getting like 2 takeaways every game.
A lot.
And you pair that with the offense scoring, and the game script got opponents away from the run or siloed them a little bit so they could kind of feed into what they wanted to do from a Bills perspective. And that's what they needed in this game. Like they weren't getting these negative plays. They weren't getting sacks. They weren't getting takeaways. It was the Bengals just kind of living comfortably and moving forward. I do think that's what they need to be, like these high variance, like this high variance type of defense, which I don't love. I don't love with how they're built. I don't love the risk reward nature with how they've constructed the defense, but they just, and granted, things could change as they get a little healthier potentially.
Sure.
But yeah, they're not built to sit back in any form or fashion.
Right.
Like they have to attack, play on the
and
front
they did
foot a little bit.
And they did in this game. There was a lot of light boxes. They were, again, kind of inviting the run, but the Bengals were still getting plays in the pass game, and they continued to press with that. And that's what I kind of mean. They kind of lured him in, right? Because if you look at their rushing stats, when you're talking box numbers, the Bills played a lot of light boxes and were inviting the run, but the Bills did a good job against the Bengals offensive line, who had been, really having some success the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And they stopped him with light boxes. And again, the Bengals got away from it a little bit, and see what happens when that, especially late in the game, when the momentum swung, it went in the Bills' favor because of those turnovers from Joe Burrow.
And even in start the second half, you started to see a little more press, a little more blitzing, like they attacked. I do think that's how they have to play more there. We've talked about and diagnosed or not diagrammed, I should say, well, kind of diagnosed as well, their spot drop zone struggles. Like they have to be more of a match or a man, press, blitz, attack, especially with, Bosa being banged up. They're like, how do you get pressure? Who's it coming from? That playing on the more of the front foot, getting the ball back to Allen, trying to create some turnovers, some takeaways. Like to kind of use a morbid analogy, I would prefer not to be bled out. If I die, kill me fast. Like that's it. Like if I'm going to die, cut off my head, bang, that's it. Like I don't want to be poked a million times and bleed out slow. And that's what was happening to him in this game. It was 6-yard completion, 9-yard completion, 3rd and 11, 13-yard completion. And just these long drives also keep the ball away from Josh Allen, keep the ball away from the Bills offense. If they score too much too early, do the Bills have to get away from the run? That's not what they're built with on offense. Yeah. So it's almost like you do have to kind of push your chips into that aspect a little more and attack a bit. And we've seen them have the penchant for it. Sean McDermott has that in the back of his brain with where he learned from the Jim Johnson tree. We'll see if he leans into it. I am interested to see what they kind of do with that, because similar to your thought, I said it after the game, I think on social or something, like just kind of playing that high variance game. I think it pairs well with who they are, what they are, and even more so with the offenses they could see in the playoffs. Some of those guys are at quarterback positions are mistake prone. Some of those teams have good run defenses. Kind of fight fire with fire, see what you got. And then if they score fast, you give the ball to Josh Allen. If you get the stop, you're giving the ball to Josh Allen and you rock with it.
Yeah. I mean, you want as many possessions as you can get with Josh Allen at the helm.
Take it. And if he's playing like this and the run game's moving like this, okay. Like, oh man, they scored 3 plays, 79 yards. All right, let's give the ball back to Allen. I'd rather go 3 plays, 79 yards than go 12 plays, 79 yards. And that's kind of what defenses or offenses are getting against this Bills defense. But we will see what this Bills team is going forward, especially this upcoming weekend. Showdown in Foxborough. They're coming off a bye. Everybody's loving Drake May's MVP odds. The Pats got him earlier in the year. They have another week to prepare. Their numbers and metrics are great, but their DVOA isn't so great because they've beaten up on a lot of bad teams. Are they real? Are they not? Can the Bills? I want to say it's so bad because I really do think I have a prediction that I really think could happen, but I'm not going to say it because I'm too superstitious.
Fair.
Not even just for this game. I have a prediction for how the rest of this season is going to play out, regular season for the Bills and Pats. But really good game this upcoming weekend, an important one, knowing what the rest of this Bills schedule looks out. Eric, as we start to wrap up here, where's your mind at? Are you thinking a little bit about this New England game? If so, anywhere in particular? Or are you still kind of putting a bow on what we saw against the Bengals or something bigger? Where's your mind at as we start to say goodbye to the people here?
I'm excited about this one. Obviously, a division rival. And I just like the matchup when we're talking the Vrabel defense versus the Bills offense and where their strengths are. Kay Amore says no Milton Williams, so hopefully the run game works better this time around.
Take it.
Even without Williams out, with Williams out of the lineup, Vrabel does a good job doing with the run fits. Like, so how they fit up the Bills runs, I think they know the Bills very well, obviously. And I think they do a great job of fitting up the Bills run game. It's really been kind of the MO of Vrabel's defenses, but we always talk about it too. Vrabel does a great job of taxing and confusing Josh and slowing down his processing a little bit with some of the hybrid type players that he's had on defenses, some of the hybrid coverages and spy integration that he's done with Josh. He typically gives Josh a hard time in the passing game. And so I'm excited about this matchup. Then you talk about the other side with Diggs again, what they do with Benford. Will they shout out Diggs? Diggs is pretty much 50-50 when it comes to playing boundary and slot. So it'll be interesting to see what they do from a game plan perspective on that side of the ball too. I'm just excited about this matchup against the Patriots, and we'll see how it unfolds. I'm kind of with you on a feeling of the run that the Bills are going to make. And I like the way it's aligning with the standings. I think that is advantageous as long as the Bills can continue to stack wins, obviously, but also, win in multiple ways to build on, build that muscle memory going into the playoffs.
Absolutely. We've said it on the show. We said it before the season. A lot of fans said what I'm about to say. Who cares if they win the division or if they're the one? Be the best version of yourself when it comes to the playoffs. And if that means you're the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, whatever the hell, just be that. And we'll see what they can be going forward, especially as we're starting to see these wrinkles. They're getting a little bit healthier. Hopefully they can continue to get healthier. They've stabilized a bit with some stuff with Shaq Thompson on defense. Maybe they can keep that going. Man, yeah, really exciting game coming up this weekend for both teams and both fan bases. And either way, whatever happens, we will continue to go forward. Sorry, I'm laughing because, Notre Dame did get kind of robbed, but I hate Notre Dame, so it is what it is. And
all right.
So I'm very happy.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment. Fair enough. Yeah, they did get robbed, though. There's so much to unpack there. I don't know how Bama got in, but Notre Dame didn't. But, to each their own.
Yeah.
Whatever happens here with the Buffalo Bills, positive, negative, good, bad, going forward, we will have you covered here in the film room every single week. We appreciate you folks tuning in live at this odd time and day for the film room. We appreciate you being accommodating to us. If you're watching here on YouTube, please, and thank you. Drop a like on this video. Likes are the lifeblood of these streams. If you're watching post live on YouTube, drop a like on this video. Likes are the lifeblood of these streams. Turn on notifications for the film room playlist here on YouTube. Subscribe to the Cover One channel where we have you covered pretty much every single day of the week with various Buffalo Bills content. If you're listening on one of the audio podcasting apps or platforms, please rate and review and subscribe. Whatever form or fashion your episode consumption comes in or support comes in, know that we are sincerely and truly grateful for it and appreciative of it. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, for joining us. If you have not already, take a peek at Turf to Tape. Eric and Sal just went live literally right before we did the film room. As this show is concluding right now, I'm about to go live in a half hour with the Skies coverage. Yeah, on this Tuesday, December 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern. So we will see as we start to move forward here in this night. We appreciate all the support we get from all you folks. Thank you very much to Joe DeRosa, as always, the man behind the scenes, helping us to do this episode. We appreciate you folks. We hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. We will see you when we see you. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.